pastor, and he was ordained in 1997, okay, which is about 29 years ago. He's also a lawyer, a barrister and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria for the past 39 years. Okay. And he has been following, but most importantly, he's a retired military officer, having enrolled into the Nigerian Air Force 42 years ago, and retired honorably 11 years ago. And he has been an international commentator. He's been following international developments for over 53 years. He doesn't look that old, but apparently he might be. Okay, over 53 years following international records, international development. Okay, um, traveled widely, read extensively, considers himself an elder citizen, but still looks very young and is very active, keeps abreast of both secular world and spiritual affairs, legal issues, military affairs, and geopolitics. He has been on this program before a few years ago, and we find his views very, 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 very passionate, very interesting, very insightful. So I guess a senior pastor, a retired senior military officer, an analyst, and then prefers to be introduced as simply Mr., the way Guardian used to do it in those days, until they needed Chief Rochiwe Williams to fight a battle for them. So Rochiwe Williams said, "No problem, I will defend you, but are you still going to keep me as simply Mr.? Are you not going to put the chief behind my name?" So simply Mr. No, I'll put the pastor behind your name. Pastor Olumuyiwa Akinyele, retired Commodore, I believe he was a Commodore in the Nigerian Air Force, and he corrected captain, group captain, retired group captain Muiwa Akinyele. You are most welcome indeed, and thank you for
Sure.
agreeing to be our guest on this program. We're speaking on Israel, Iran, and the US crisis, the impact on Nigeria and other nations. Okay, we're speaking about that, but we want the impact on Nigeria. But first of all, let me ask you a question. Why did you decide to join the military? What was the inspiration that led you to join the military?
Well, as a young person, as a child, many of us had all sorts of ambitions. Actually, I wanted to be a military officer. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a lawyer. Surely, I didn't want to be a pastor. And as I was growing, I was wondering how could I marry all these divergent ambitions. So after secondary school, I decided to go for law because I was poor in mathematics, so I couldn't go into flying school. So I went into University of Ife to study law. And after my first year, Air Force now advertised that they wanted undergraduates in certain disciplines, of which law was one of them. So I saw, oh, this was a way of marrying two of my original three dreams. So I applied and I was enlisted. So I became a lawyer, I became a military officer. Just out of childhood, when we were growing up, Nigeria was fighting civil war. So we were under military government. Military was fashionable. So maybe childhood impressionism, I don't know. Okay, so.
Interesting. I would have thought that your parents would have begged you not to go into the military. Your girlfriend, if you are not yet married at that time, would have begged you, and so on and so forth. Did you not encounter any of that?
No, no, no. Funny enough, our parents were very understanding and they felt if I have chosen to follow that path, God will go with me. And that time, there wasn't really much pressure. You could become anything. You didn't need to know anyone there at that time. To go to university, I never went there. JAMB then, you buy JAMB, post the form at the post office, write your exams. If you are successful, you get your admission letter. So when I was to join the Air Force, I mentioned to my parents that I saw this advert. And they said, "Are you sure?" But there was no one before me in our family that was in the military. So he said, "Well, if that is what you want." And he remembered that when I was a little boy, I used to call myself a captain, a major. We would give ourselves rank. So he remembered. I said, "Well, maybe this was a way of fulfilling your childhood dreams." So let's put it that way.
I mean, those words and those dreams are really powerful.
Mm.
And for me, it's even spiritual in that this is how God helps you to become both a lawyer and a soldier at the same time.
Yes,
Uh,
then I just remember something now. When I was, growing up as an Anglican, my father was an Anglican archdeacon. I was baptized on the eighth day. The archdeacon that baptized me, when he carried me, he said, "Oh, this boy looks like a bishop." That he told my parents I will be a pastor. So when I grew and they told me, I said, "God forbid, I will never be a pastor." But here we are. So the three prophecies, as it were, some were self ordained, some by external. So I became a pastor, I became a military officer, and a lawyer. So it's very interesting.
Very, very interesting. And I know that one of your brothers too was an Anglican
More
priest.
than one. Two of them were archdeacons too.
Two of them were archdeacons.
Yes, yes.
Wow, the blood is strong. Plus your dad.
My grandfather was a pastor too.
Oh wow. So you must be somebody who has completely no sin.
Ah, no, I won't say that. Jesus said, "He that had no sin, let him throw a stone." I couldn't throw a stone, so that means I must have sinned.
Well, I won't disclose this to your wife. It is between us. What is said on this program stays on this program. So your secrets are safe with me.
No, so,
Tell me, what was the military like in those days? I mean, what was it like in those days? And what was it like by the time you were leaving? Any comparisons and
oh, yeah.
any things for us to note?
Yes, by the time I joined 1st of June 1984, I left 15 December 2015. Of course, there was a massive transition. By the time we started, things were still better organized, and merit was largely recognized, and we had a very interesting career. Till today, anywhere I go in Nigeria, I must know someone from that part of the country because every course in the military will have people from all states of the federation. So I've been to all the states in Nigeria. I know people from everywhere. But by the time we will leave, military and governance, there were so many things already affecting many of the values. So I wouldn't say the military I left was the one I joined. But from what we are hearing, I believe there is hope for the nation. Professionalism is returning. Military, when we were there, military was still in government. Since 1999, we've had 27 years now of purely civilian rule. So I believe it will be getting better, I believe.
Yeah, that's even a good place to really take off. Military and governance. Looking back and without betraying your esprit de corps, knowing that you are one of them, was it a good idea for military to have gotten into governance in 1966?
Well, I think it depends on how we look at it. Number one, the nation was on the verge of collapse at that time. And some nations had very positive outcomes from military rule. So it wasn't all bad. And I believe Gawan started well. I mean, he did so many wonderful things, but I think he overstayed. Uh, but overall, military rule, or let me say, always leaves a negative effect on the military itself because the military are trained to fight, are trained to defend the nation, not to govern the nation. So it's a misnomer. And it will definitely, if you have a vehicle that is designed to run on the road and you are using it in the water, it will definitely affect the vehicle. So I believe incursion into politics eroded a lot of things in the military. But since military is back in its core professionalism, it will get better, I believe.
We pray so, and we pray that military stays in its core professionalism.
I
There was a
believe.
rumor. There was a rumor of a coup about 6 or 7 months ago. Did you know anything about it? Was it just a rumor, or did some of your boys whisper some things to you?
I think it's a rumor, even though, it came out in the news later that some people were investigated, but we wouldn't know precisely what they committed. But it will almost be impossible now for a military coup to take place. I can tell you that. A lot has changed. The values have changed. The way the country is organized has changed. The way the military are trained has changed. So it will be very difficult to have a successful military rule in Nigeria. I can tell you that. To be difficult.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a bit more why that will be so difficult? That's number one. And then number two, the people who did the coup in 1966 were so young. Most of them under 30 or just a little bit above. Where could they have gotten that kind of inspiration or courage from? I think that they were inspired from outside. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a question of both. One, our training, we are trained to be courageous. We are trained to overcome adversities by training. That's one. Then, two, don't forget that by the time Nigeria had the military rule, other African countries were already under military rule. Ghana, a close nation, and they were already under military rule, and some others. So it was becoming fashionable at that time for the military to be ruling. So I would say a combination of both. That one, external influence, and then the politicians invited them. I'm sure you know that, sir, that a number of politicians in the nation advocated for military rule. It's just that the way it turned out, so many things went wrong. And here we are, over 60 years later, we are still trying to recover from the wounds on the nation, on the soul of the nation.
So, what then do you think, from your own perspective, at the is this what's your opinion about Nigeria? What is the state of affairs from where you stand, and why do you think Nigeria is in the position that it is?
Well, Nigeria has a great potential. I mean, we have a good population, largely youthful. We have natural resources. We have well-educated citizens. Having said that, I feel the nation requires a major overhaul. There are two schools of thought about what it takes to turn around a nation. Some people argue that all you need is a good leader, that one good leader can turn around a nation. and they cite maybe Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. But I think that in the case of Nigeria, we are all living witnesses. I think we need more than a single person to turn around the nation. Let's take our setup as it is now. We are under civil rule. The president, no matter how good intentioned, no matter how knowledgeable, no matter how visionary, has to contend with the National Assembly, has to contend with so many institutions in the country that are already not functioning well. So is okay, look at Kaduna State. Let me take you back. There was a very well-meaning governor in Kaduna State many years ago. He was plain, he was honest, but he had a legislature to contend with who didn't want him there. At the end of the day, what happened? We had the first governor that was impeached. So I think it's more than one person turning around the nation. I think we need a turnaround of our institutions, the judiciary, the political class, the political parties, the system by which leadership are produced. We need to turn around all this. And then the values. If you go around, you're a pastor like I am, you talk to people in the church and in the society at large. An average young person now, all they want is money, money, money. The values that your parents and my parents gave us, they have been eroded. The Omoluabi value has been eroded. And you know that they say a nation gets a leader it deserves. If our institutions are upside down, if the police is corrupt, if the judiciary, we know that you can buy judgments, you can do so many things. So don't expect magic. That may now be why some people argue for a dictator, that a dictator can find it easier to turn around the situation than a Democrat. Because a Democrat has to submit himself to so many controls, whereas a dictator does not. So if we have a good, visionary, knowledgeable, passionate, patriotic dictator, the nation such a person rules will move faster than our own situation. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, sir.
Very clear, very clear. But what I would like from you is from your perspective, setting definite steps that we as a people can take
Okay.
to help Nigeria turn around.
Okay.
Let's assume that we have the leadership that we have gotten. This is how it is. And it's not just at the president level, it's almost across board. We have a set of people who are really, really self serving and not interested in the well being of the people that they are leading. And here we are, people on the floor of Nigeria. What can we do? What can each individual do
Okay.
to help turn things around?
Okay. The church can help. The religious institutions. We are a very religious nation, uh, almost evenly distributed amongst Christians and Muslims. Our religious leaders, in my opinion, they have a major role to play. The imams, the bishops, the pastors, what are we teaching our congregation? What values are we passing across? So if you find a situation where the pastors, the imams, the religious leaders, they are not better than the politicians. So what do you do? So the church needs a rebirth, a refocus. I mean, the religious institution. Then every nation must have an elite. I mean, every nation has its elite class, the ruling class. Our ruling class needs more people like you, like me, like others who would rather, who would say, if I perish, I perish. We need more people like that. A lot of the people that are forming opinions in our nation, they are too materialistic. They don't want to die. They don't want to lose their status quo. Every nation that has moved forward, there were people there, the Esthers of this world, the Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, who said, look, I will not bow to an idol. I will do what is right, even if I lose my position. So we are short of that. So we need more of that. So if we have more like that, I'm sure you remember the Fawemis of this world, the Professor Awojobi, the Taisho Larins. We need more people like that who have a conscience, who cannot be bought. So when we have more and more like that, when our religious institution stands for its own place, if we have a situation where the mosques and the churches were given prominence to criminals, people we know are drug barons, they are criminals, you honor them. So where is the hope? So what are you teaching your youths? You are telling them that it is profitable to do crime. So I think it's a combination of many of these things. So we need people, the writers, the opinion formers, the leaders, the social leaders. They need to see what you and I are talking about. And if we now have that consensus, it will be difficult for whoever becomes president to swim against the tide. Because right now, our leaders are just a product of the corrupted class that we are talking about. So we need to re-engineer our values. Parents at home, schools, religious institutions, and then political class. If more and more people join the political parties, that is why we are encouraging more and more uh, righteous people. I mean, the Bible says, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people they cry. We are crying because a lot of our leaders are corrupt people. They are wicked people. So what do you expect them to do? They will only do what brought them there. So let's get more and more decent people, righteous people, proven people, people of proven integrity, to join the political parties, to present themselves, to go into the Senate, House of Assembly, local government councils. When we have more and more like that, who are offering quality arguments on the floor of the Senate, on the floor of the House of Rep, we have writers who are writing, we have pastors who are preaching, we have imams who are preaching the right thing. We will change. That's my view on our going forward.
Specifically, how can we get the church to rally together? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, we have leaders in the church, so it's for our leaders to give direction. We have CAN, we have PFN, we have other bodies like that. So if we are able to agree that the nation the destiny of the nation rests on the church. When Jesus was going, he said, I give unto you the keys of the kingdom. We hold the keys. Are we using the keys? He said, whatever we bind will be bound. So if we look at the Western civilization in particular, European and American countries that are doing well or that did well, they were formed or influenced largely by Christian thoughts, by the Reformation, by Lutherans. So many people of old who practiced what they preached.
Are you
Sorry.
with me?
Yes, okay. No, I didn't say anything for a few seconds.
Okay. Are you through or
Yes, I think so. Or have I answered you?
Yeah, yeah. It seems as if the church has actually departed
I
from
think
that
I
from
think
that call.
I
I
think
think
so. Because it's not just to save souls. Yes, we are to save souls. Yes. But we Jesus said we are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the earth. Are we doing that? Saving souls is just part of the assignment. We must also bring out in people righteousness, godliness, the kingdom of God. We must do it. I was reading something today online. It says if you feel pain in your body, it means you are alive. If you see the pain of others, it means you are a human being. I now added that it's not enough to feel pain or to see pain. What are you doing about it? That you need to go the extra mile to address the ills of the society. There are many things governments are meant to do. Okay, if we rewind about 100, 200 years ago, when the missionaries came to Africa, they didn't just preach the gospel. They established hospitals. They established schools. They did so many other things. So it was a comprehensive package. And I believe we need to go back to that time where the church is fulfilling the total mandate that God has bestowed on us. Not just to take people's tithes and offering and preach that if you don't give your life, you are going to hell. Before you go to hell, before you go to heaven, what about here? We need to address that. We need to influence the society for the kingdom that we are representing. We are ambassadors. The primary responsibility of ambassadors is not just to issue visa. Issuing visa is preaching to people to go to heaven. You must promote the business of your home government, promote the trade, promote so many things. Let people know about your government and your nation, what they stand for. So I think we need to do more about that.
thank you so much. Thank you. Let's now begin to gravitate towards our conversation today. What's the issue with Israel? What's the issue with Iran? Why has the US decided to jump into what ordinarily should not be its own concern?
Well, let me put it this way. War has always been fought since mankind existed. And wars were fought for different reasons. Some, they wanted extra territory. Some, they wanted economic, they want more resources for their nation. Some for religion, some for revenge, some for alliance. In fact, there was a particular war I remember now. Maybe you must have heard about one lady called Helen of Troy. A whole war was fought for more than 10 years because of one woman. Many people today may feel, how can you go to war because of a woman? So nations have gone to war for different reasons. Let's start from that. Now, the particular one we're looking at, it was the US and Israel that started it. They gave their own reasons. Some people may not agree with the reasons they have given. Israel felt Iran's plan, Iran's program, and development of their weapon systems could affect their existence as a nation. And then remember that there is an agreement between the US and Israel that they will always come to their aid. So everybody will not agree whether there was sufficient justification for the US and Israel to start the war. But like I told you, from time immemorial, wars have been fought for different reasons, and some of them are not so obvious. Well, here we are, the war is on, and it is affecting so many things. I mean, beyond the imagination of those that started it. because I'm sure we know that Iran does not have weapon systems that could hit mainland US. All its missiles cannot go beyond 2,000 kilometers. So yes, they may not be able to attack New York and Washington and all that, but we can see what they are doing. They are trying to cause as much embarrassment and damage as they can with what they have. And you know, it is easier to destroy than to build. So they are just doing what we will call in local parlance a rough fight. You know, the Americans and the Israelis, they are trying to follow the laws of war. They are discriminating in the targets they are going after. The others who do not have the comparable resources or the advantage that Israel and the US have, they are just going for broke. Whatever they can hit, they are going after. And as we can see, the effects are started. A few weeks ago, we were paying about 800 naira per liter for petrol. Now it's over 1,000 naira. Diesel, same thing, all because of this development, because 20% of world crude oil supply comes from that part of the world. And if the vessels are not able to move the crude, it will result in shortage of supply. And we know in simple economics, supply and demand. If the supply goes down and the demand remains the same, it will affect the price. The price will go up. But let's hope sooner rather than later that the hostilities will be brought under control because, well, I don't know all the questions we'll ask because there are so many dimensions to uh, the war that will affect not just the US, Israel, the neighboring countries, and even countries, nations far from them, like Nigeria and the rest of Africa. We are thousands of kilometers away from the hostilities, but we are paying a lot of price too. Well, I'll be delighted to take your questions as we field them.
Okay, very good. What do you think is the real reason behind this war? Some people have said that yes, indeed, there was nuclear armament on behalf of Iran or whatever it is by Iran. Other people have said, and there have been cartoons drawn, that is actually to control the oil resources or to have some influence over the oil resources from that area. Another have said that there's a religious undertone to it, that Donald Trump is really tackling head on this Muslim agitation and seemingly Muslim issues that are bedeviling the entire world, and so on and so forth. So there's some form of deliberate thing to crush the head of a lot of these things. What is your opinion? What do you think the truth really is? And then, how do you think the war is going to end, if it
Okay.
is?
Okay, let me go back to something you mentioned when you were introducing the program. You mentioned the role of the US as a policeman of the world. You see, for the benefit of those who may not really understand what that means, the world is a very complex place. We have over 200 nations. Some are big, like China and India, more than 1 billion uh, people living in their nation. Some are small, some are just a few thousands. Some are rich, some are very poor. Now, diversity, different languages, different races, different interests. You know, every nation wants to project its own interests. Every nation wants to have things its own way. Now, there was a time hundreds and thousands of years ago when for any little thing, nations will go to war. I cited for us the story of Helen of Troy. Maybe you'll be hearing of the Trojan horse, all those things. They all emanated from that war. That because one man has a wife, Helen was married to the king of a nation. One guy from another place liked her and carried her away. Because of that, nations went to war for 10 years because of one woman. Today, I don't think that will happen. But now, going forward, because of the diversity of interests, nations were always fighting over very little things. We had the First World War, we had Second World War. After Second World War, we have what we now know as UN. They tried to put in place certain measures to ensure the world no longer experiences a world war. That has largely helped. Not perfectly, but substantially. We've not had any large-scale worldwide war since the end of the Second World War in 1945. Now, one of the reasons that has helped is the interbalance of forces. At a time we had what we called a bipolar war. On one hand, you had the Russians, on the other, the Americans. They were balancing each other. People will either support America or support Russia. But in the last 20 years, USSR, as it was then known, went under. We have Russia now, and many other former Soviet countries like Uzbekistan, all those places. Now, China has risen. Russia is not as powerful as USSR, but they still have nuclear power. America now feels it owes a duty. Now, these other two powers, Russia and Soviet and China, they are not democracies. They are practicing on that form of governance. America sees itself as the champion to promote democracy all over the world. And that in doing so, they must restrain China and Russia from expanding their own form of governance, their own form of economics. So America has been, they are all over the world, they have bases all over the world. They try to promote their own economic and political interests. Now, it has worked well because anywhere Russia is mindful of America, that if I exceed certain bounds, America will checkmate me. That, for example, explains why China couldn't have invaded Taiwan, because it will consider if I do so, I have to contend with America. So there has been this delicate balance of power, of politics, and the dynamics. Now, by the US going into Iran, they may now break some of this age-long stability that has been in place. If this war drags on, we've been trying to cope with Russia invading Ukraine. That has not been resolved. China would desire to invade Taiwan. North Korea would desire to invade South Korea. There are some other nations too that have neighbors they will want to invade. So the possible adverse consequences of this action may be a multiplication of bigger nations invading smaller nations. That fear is there. But to try and go back to where you started, that why did the US go there? It's very hard to say because, governments will not tell you everything. There are many governmental actions that are classified, but we can only go by what they have said and what we can deduct. The objective reasons given is that Iran wanted to develop, or don't let me say wanted, has been planning to develop nuclear weapons. And Israel believes the weapons are aimed to obliterate the state. So they have a natural inherent right to defend themselves if truly another nation wants to eliminate them. So whether Iran actually possesses that capacity is left to be seen. We don't know yet, but that is the reason given by Israel and by America that Iran has not been cooperating with the international regulatory bodies to check that their nuclear program is for peaceful purpose, that it is not for weapon grade. So that has been their excuse. But whether it is true, let's go back a few decades during the so-called weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That was the reason America gave for invading Iraq. But at the end of the day, we didn't see any weapons of mass destruction. The world is yet to fully recover from that. So reasons have been given. We don't know if they are accurate. Time will tell. Only time will tell. But those are the reasons. The crude oil thing, I don't think so. Iran is not a major player in the crude oil. It is not. And a student of military studies, a junior military officer, will know that attacking Iran will affect crude oil prices. So I don't think America went there because of crude oil. I don't think so. It must be beyond that because going there will hurt the crude oil prices, which it has been doing already. It will affect inflation. And the Western world, they rely so much on the crude. And if the price exceeds certain level, it will hit the bottom line of everyone. People will have to pay more for virtually everything, for goods, services, and not only for petroleum products. Because in Nigeria now that we are paying more for petrol and diesel, very soon it may affect transport prices, it may affect food prices, it may affect cost of production. But people are still patient to see how it will go. I don't think it has the ripple effect has started showing because people are hopeful. US president has said within a few weeks their objective will be accomplished. If that happens, then the adverse effects economically may not be as bad. But if it drags on endlessly for months, a year or two, that will be, it can only be imagined. It will be very, very terrible. So I hope I've answered your question, sir.
And I'm soon going to be opening the floor for questions and answers from the people, which Pastor Sonny will conduct. I understand Jumoke might not be available today. How do you think this conflict or this war is going to end? What are the options that will bring it to an end? And then, equally as important, how is this thing affecting us in Nigeria? What are the lessons Nigeria should learn? And what are our takeaways from this particular situation?
Okay, thank you, sir. It's very hard to predict how a war will end. That's the truth of the matter. It's like in football. For those who follow football, yesterday there were matches all over Europe, Champions League. Everybody thought Arsenal will overrun Leverkusen. It didn't turn out that way. Russia thought it will overrun Ukraine in 2 weeks. We are here now, 4 years down the road. So it's hard for me to make any objective or intelligent projection of how it will end. But what I can say is that wars are difficult, and most wars are ended on the negotiating table, not on the battlefield. So, in my opinion, the earlier peaceful ways are found to resolve this, the better for the whole world. Because if we continue, it may turn out worse than expected. So I won't want to hazard any guess as to whether Iran can win. I mean, that one is obvious, but they can cause more damage than envisaged because it's just a single country. They are limited in many ways, but they have many groups outside their territory that are sympathetic to them. Some of us may know, for example, that this war is already having effects in Lebanon. It may spread to other nations if it doesn't end quickly. I will advocate that peaceful means are sought to end it rather than just continuing spending billions of dollars every day, destroying and destroying.
So how does it affect Nigeria? How is it affecting us in Nigeria? And
Okay,
what are the lessons we need to learn?
okay, sir. Number one, the most direct, obvious one is the cost of crude oil. It has jumped up from the 60 or so dollars to, at a time it even reached about 90 or more. It's about 80 something dollars per barrel now. Because of that, Dangote and those who are importing fuel, they have increased the price. So people have to pay more for crude, for petroleum product. That's the first effect. The second one, which may be positive, is that for a nation like Nigeria that exports crude oil, it means the government will realize more than the budget had envisaged. Because if we had planned that we will sell at $60 and we are now selling at $80 or more, it means we are getting more money than we thought we would get. However, this can only be helpful if we are able to attain our production capacity. For some years now, by the time Buhari was leaving office, we were producing less than 1 million barrels per day. When this government came in, they did so many things. They got some things right, and production level went up to as high as 1.8 million. They were projecting, the president is hopeful that before next year we can do 2.2 million. If we are able to produce to our capacity, then we can have more income that we didn't expect. That is a second thing. But now the third thing is that there is greater hardship. The government has been trying to fight inflation. So some people are already advocating that there should be a temporary return to fuel subsidy. That because this is a war situation, this is not the usual fraudulent fuel subsidy regime. That for as long as this war is going on, that government may consider that after all, government is getting more money from selling crude, that they should consider subsidize it so that people don't pay over 1,000 naira, that we can continue to pay 800 or thereabout per liter. So those are some of the immediate consequences on Nigeria. And then there are some other countries too that have been affected, beyond Nigeria. I was reading recently that there is this nation, I think, South Korea. There are certain military facilities that were deployed there for the defense of South Korea. But because of the war going on in the Middle East, US is now withdrawing some of those facilities to use in the Middle East. So the South Koreans are apprehensive that if America withdraws all these uh, air defense systems that has kept them assured to prevent an attack by North Korea, that what will happen to us. So that's why I feel it's better the earlier negotiations are entered into, the better for everybody, both for Nigeria, America itself, because America too is paying a price. They're spending so much. Their soldiers are dying. There is division in the US. Some feel the war is not justified. Some feel no, it is justified. Israel too, same thing. Iran is attacking Israel with missiles. They are killing so many people. So the earlier the bloodshed is arrested, the better for mankind. So though I was in the military, I will never. War is not a good option any day. It's not.
Um, some people are saying that maybe America is using this as a third case to also invade Nigeria. Do you think there's that possibility?
No, I don't think so. What do they stand to gain in invading Nigeria? You do your calculations very well before you make such a major move. Yes, there were some strikes launched, I think, towards the end of last year. Strikes are different from invasion. And, America is always very careful about committing ground troops. They've done so before in Vietnam, in Iraq. I don't think they will do so because there is no reason. There is no reason why America should invade Nigeria. There is no reason. I don't have that fear at all.
All right. Let me um, let me hand over to Sonny to conduct a few questions, as we normally do. Those who wish to ask questions should please raise up their hands electronically. You keep your questions very short, your name, and straight to the question. Please, no need to greet anybody. We're all well greeted. No need to sing a song. No need to give a preamble. And if it's a comment that you have, make the comment also very quick, very short, very sharp. And let's move on to the next person. Okay. Thank you so much, my dear group captain and pastor. I
Thank you,
salute
Pastor.
you.
Thank you very
Sonny,
much, Pastor.
body are you?
Huh? Yes, so it's very fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You have laid the preambles already. So without wasting time, I have, I think, two hands up. Um, I greet you again, Group Captain Akinyele. Thank you for, you know, um, the way you have spoken to the issue so far. We truly appreciate that. So Adeyemo, I will ask them to unmute you so that you can ask your question. Then we have Abubakar Yusuf, and then we have Ola Oluwakiton, and then Pastor Funke Awolowo. Let's start with Adeyemo. Go ahead. Allow him
Are
to
you here?
unmute. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I do listen to what he was saying, but what we have to understand is that when you look at what is really, really going on, a lot of people do not know about the fact that Israel has nuclear weapons. They are not members of the NPT. They are not members of the IAEA. And Iran, I'm not supporting them. They have allowed inspections. They have done everything, but um, they are wrong. What the world really, really needs is a nuclear free world. War is never the answer. I was a young person when we had the Biafran War. I had a classmate I don't remember his last name, but I remember his first name. He went to the east and he never came back. At a very tender age of maybe 7 years old, I was confused about war. And that's what made me to be a pacifist. War is never, never, never the answer. And truthfully, our country, Nigeria, has not recovered from that Biafran war. War should be the last thing. Why should we kill people? Why should we go out and say, you don't know these people? It doesn't make any sense. When I look at the fact that the golden rule says, do unto others as want them to do unto you. The Bible even said that love thy enemies. I don't use enemies. I use people who have basically done you wrong. The creator of everything created us. And for me to discriminate against anybody, it means that I am discriminating against the creation of God. And a lot of people in Nigeria think that Israel they have a lot of Christians there. There are more Christians in Iran than in Israel. And it is another story about what Trump did. Trump is trying not to focus on Epstein. There was an agreement when Obama was the president. They
Okay,
had an
sir.
agreement.
If
No,
you
no,
if
no.
you can wrap up.
Let me just finish for a second, because we need to get this in context. There was an agreement that Obama had that Iran will not do this nuclear stuff, that they can monitor them and all that. When Trump came, he tore up that agreement. The world needs peace. Thank you. I'm sorry for
Thank,
taking a long time. Please forgive
no,
me
no,
for
it's
that.
okay.
But I have to explain all those things. And your guest never mentioned the fact that Israel has nuclear weapon. They did not admit to it. There's a guy called Vanunu. You can Google him. He
Okay.
was an Israeli, and he
All,
exposed that. Thank you so much.
all right. Thank you very much for your comment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
sir.
we'll take Abubakar Yusuf. Go ahead. Allow Abubakar to unmute. Abubakar Yusuf, unmute. Okay, if you cannot unmute, we'll go to Ola Oluwakitan. Ola Oluwakitan, allow him to unmute. Unmute yourself. Just press your unmute button. All right, we'll move to Pastor Funke Awolowo. Allow her to unmute also. Is there a problem with unmuting? Faye? Hello?
Hello. Hello, good evening.
Yeah?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Ajao Olaoluwakiton. So, and I will make this
Okay,
very brief. Can you hear me very clearly?
we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. So thank you, Pastor. I mean, those of us that have the privilege of listening to you almost on very regular basis will not be surprised by your remarkable clarity, the depth of articulation and your courage to speak the truth. And that is the area that I really want to ask my question on. Your courage to speak the truth, even when it requires comforting, uncomfortable realities within your own community. You are a pastor, but I noticed that you are not afraid to even speak to that community that, hey, our pastors and religious leaders have not tried at all, in contribution positively and productively to this present calamity that we have in this country. However, I would like a further clarification regarding the solution that you proposed. Okay, especially the idea of transferring greater responsibility or coordination to bodies such as CAN or PFN or such leadership. Is this really a solution? I mean, considering what we know of even of these bodies and such bodies all over the world, while there is no doubt that a solution is urgently needed, I am not so certain whether this approach will be very effective. So I want you to kindly elaborate very practically on how you think CAN bodies or PFA bodies can actually bring all our pastors, under control, or for them to be able to speak, at least if not with one voice, at least let them speak with the voice of sanity. Let them speak with this voice of productivity. Secondly, sorry, sir, I have another question. Another part that I feel that my pastor has not touched is the issue of tribalism or ethnic division. We recognize that this is one of the primary tools politicians use to divide citizens and maintain power through corruption and manipulation. I also want Pastor to speak a little bit about this. I mean, we can't wish it away. It's there, but really, is there a solution to this to make us come together? Right? Even if we are not speaking the same language, and let's speak collaboratively.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so
We
much.
have limited time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. Is Abubakar able to unmute now? Okay. What of Zubair? Pastor Olo?
Hello. Sorry, we are having technical issues with
Hello?
but I can unmute now.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question. Please make it brief. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we are having international conflict, and then our economy all around the world has been affected. I know the United Nations are doing a lot to bring negotiations onto the table, but then we here in Nigeria, we have started experiencing the effects already. The transport fare has gone up. If you are traveling from Lagos to Abuja now, on route, you have to add up with the previous money. So that's one of the effects. And I so much respect the decision of the president with regards the gas alternative he's trying to bring. I so much respect that. But then the second issue here is we talking about religion and what have you. What I'm suggesting here is we Nigerians need to have a religion affairs where all religion issues and related issues will be sorted out. We have Christians, we have Muslim in Nigeria. It was not a mistake. God created us like that. So we need to have ourselves together in order for us to have the country we want to have. I am suggesting a Ministry of Religion Affairs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir, do you want to combine those three and just maybe give a response, briefly? Then I take the next set, and that will be all. Nelson Aluya will be the last person. So after that, no more. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to appreciate all our contributors. Some, I understand some were contributions, not really questions. So I will respond to the ones that are questions. Someone wanted to know how can we accomplish unity amongst the church? Well, I will say that the church has always experienced what we are experiencing now. Even in the time of Jesus Christ, they had divisions. I mean, those who are Bible students can remember there was a day the disciples were telling Jesus, some people are preaching in your name, but they are not part of us. Should we go and stop them? Jesus said, no, don't stop them. So even in the time of Jesus, they had different bodies, different denominations. So we will continue to have this. We remember Paul and Barnabas, and they had divisions, they had differences. So we only have to manage all these things. There is this thing that you may still work hand in hand, even when you don't see face to face or see eye to eye. You can still work hand in hand. So let's be praying for our leaders of PFN, of TAN, that God will give them the wisdom how to make us one. We are diverse. We preach different doctrines. We have different understanding. We have different levels of maturity. But we just have to operate together. If we are going to the same heaven, we need to start practicing now how to relate with one another, even when you don't see things the same way. On the issue of tribalism, we can't wish it away. It is a reality. Like I said, even in the time of the Bible, there was tribalism there. The Samaritans were there, the Jews were there. Even within the Jews, they were, when Jesus was being betrayed by Peter, and a young girl came to tell Peter he was one of them. When Peter was denied, he said, I can see from your tongue that you are a man from Galilee. So the Galileans were different from those from Nazareth. Tribalism has always existed from the time of the Tower of Babel, when God broke down the tongues of mankind. So it's part of the challenge that we have to grapple with. And we can't drive away any tribe from our nation. We just have to develop wisdom and maturity to accommodate one another, tolerate one another, and make the best of our diversity. Because there is no part of the nation that does not have many wonderful attributes that can contribute effectively to nation building. Then someone mentioned whether we should have a Ministry of Religious Affairs. I don't know. We have some. You see, on one hand, people are accusing government of over breaking down the ministries, that we have too many ministries. I don't think the government should be involved in religion. I mean, that's my own opinion. Because since we are supposed to be a nation, we are not meant to be a Christian or a Muslim nation. We are meant to be a nation where people are free to practice what they believe. Because by the time you have a Ministry of Religious Affairs, who will head it? Is it a Babalawo? Is it an Imam? Is it a bishop? If you put a Babalawo, the others will say is an unbeliever. If you put, so I don't think the government should be involved. I think the religions should organize themselves well. And those of us that teach, we should teach from the books. We should teach the truth to our followers. If the imams and the bishops and the pastors, if we are teaching the truth, the nation will be a better nation. That's why I don't think we need the Ministry of Religious Affairs. We have too many ministries already. That's my opinion. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. We'll take Zubair. Allow Zubair first. I think he was first before Nelson Aluya. Zubair. You can unmute. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So, good day, everyone. I have something like to say.
Good day, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So, the ongoing tension between Israel, Iran, and the United States are not just regional issues; they are global development. It's far-reaching consequences for many nations.
Your audio is very poor.
Yes, I'm not hearing him clearly.
Your audio is very poor, Zubair.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, it's
better.
Okay, so there are global development with far-reaching consequences for many nations, including Nigeria. One important question we can ask ourselves is, what strategic lessons can countries like Nigeria learn from this crisis in order to protect their economic stability, national security, and global interests?
You probably need to change your location a bit.
Okay, let me try to see.
It's tough to hear you. Okay, let's take Nelson Aluya while we wait for you. Nelson, you can unmute.
Oh yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
I can hear you.
Great. Right, great. Greetings from New Jersey, and thank you once again for this platform and for always bringing topics that are touching, reflective, and important to us on an individual, statehood, and national level. And to great work, Group Captain, retired Group Captain Olumuyiwa, Akinyele, I applaud you for the wisdom and the erudite manner in which you dealt with this. And I thank you for the service to our nation as well. I know what it is to be. I was a military child, so I know what it is to serve in the military these days, and especially with what's going on. And I thank you for your service. But I begin by saying this: I see you first before I see the God in you. Why? Because everybody was born first as human beings before we're born into religion or race or tribe or anything else. Now, there's a big elephant in the room that nobody's talking about, and how what is playing up in the Middle East is affecting us here in Nigeria. Geopolitics and sectionalizing or sectoralism. And I'll take it in 2 points. The geopolitics, when you look at the Middle East, the word Middle East comes, two things come to your mind. One, oil. Two, strife and wars. Why is it like this? And people need to know, understand. And before it was only a thing that happened in the Middle East, and it was sufficed and it was okay. But now it has come to a point where it's affecting all of us. It's affecting you and I wherever you are in the world today. The other part is, why is it that one nation has, I'm sorry to use the word, almost become a pariah to the rest of the world, that nobody could touch them because they are in the space of triggering a world war, where now they control the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know if they own it or by any respect, if any country, one particular country owns it. That's one. Two, to the point where they are want to destroy anybody else, anything else around them because they were attacked. I know they had the reason to survive and to sustain themselves, but the approach right now is not proper. Everybody is suffering. The Thai ship that was bombed, the Liberian ship that was bombed, they talk about the Thai one, but nobody's talking about the Liberian one. What has Liberia got to do with Iran and everything else? Now, the big issue is this. When you talk about the geopolitics, now where this really begins to concern us, and we as as a nation, cannot sleep on this. Those who are in government may step up and know how to reach out to those in government so that we begin to create, dampen points, like somebody had said earlier on. Maybe this is the time we need to reintroduce, uh, uh, um, those policies that would booster oil and everything else. Now, there's a Sunni Shiite big issue going on. And this is one of the underlying issues that have been plaguing the region that has led to the secularism that's taking place right there. Outside of the economics and how we talk about oil and gas and fertilizer, how would it affect us? How would this eventually translate to Nigeria and how we begin to look at ourselves? Because we see the geopolitics and the theocracy taking place in Nigeria now. Now, that's a question. How do we begin to solve that? And then,
Thank you very much, sir.
right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So we have those two. I think Zubair has asked his question. Have you, Zubair?
No, it wasn't clear that time.
Okay, Zubair,
We
are you still there?
should move to another location while we take.
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and try and answer the
Okay,
last
so
question, and then we'll begin to wrap up here.
okay, let's start from the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. Under the international law of the sea, countries that are near the water, they have equal rights. So Iran legally cannot claim exclusive rights over that strait. If you look at the map of the Middle East, you'll see that the Gulf of the Arabian Gulf and then the one that enters into the Indian Ocean. The strait is bordered by UAE, by Oman, and by Iran. So Iran and these other nations have equal rights over that strait. But because these are smaller nations, earlier on when I started and I was given my introductory nuggets, I said nations are not equal. Some are bigger by military might or by economic might or by population. So Oman and UAE are smaller nations. That's how come Iran can outmuzzle them and claim as if the Strait of Hormuz belongs to it. No, it does not. The other nations too have equal rights. They are to share equidistance. If it was a bigger water, yes, each nation, each littoral state, that's what coastal states are called, littoral states, they can claim up to 200 nautical miles of their EEZ, or if they have continental shelf. But let's not go into all that. That place is a very narrow place, just about 30 miles at the narrowest. So Iran can only claim the 15 miles close to it, and then Oman and UAE can claim the other 15 meters, the 15 miles. And then because it's an international waterway, third parties have what is called rights of innocent passage. They have a right to pass. Once they are not stopping, even they can stop for maybe to repair their vessels or to refuel or whatever. So Iran is just behaving like I don't know which word to use, but they don't have exclusive rights over that place. And then the other issue, sorry, please remind me what was the other part of the question?
The strife taking place between the Sunni and the Shiites that is eventually spread around the world, because everything now it's beginning to look like a geopolitical with a religious persuasion.
Okay, well, that is not exclusive to the Sunnis and the Shia. Many religions, even in Christianity, there are divisions. There are some Christians that don't talk to each other because you are in this sect or you are in this denomination. So it's part of the human nature that everybody sees himself as right or see himself as being superior to the others. So we have to live with one another, whether we are Muslims or traditional worshippers or you don't even believe in God at all. We have to fashion our ways to live with one another, to tolerate one another, to accommodate one another. And earlier on, I mentioned the role of international bodies like the UN. They've not been 100% successful, but they've substantially been able to prevent another major world war from happening. So I feel we need to keep encouraging one another, the leaders of both the Shiites and the Sunni, to relate with respect, mutual respect. After all, they are both meant to be practicing the same faith under the same prophet that started Islam. So they should look for ways to accommodate one another, even though they may not agree totally with one another. That's my take on that.
Thank you very much. As we begin to wrap down, but let me ask this question myself. I'm sorry we'll not be able to take more questions because we'll be able to close. A lot of people believe, and rightly so, that this is actually an Israeli war. Israel has persuaded the last 8 presidents, from Jimmy Carter to Ronald Reagan to George Bush Sr. to George Jr., Bill Clinton, Obama. They have been spoiling to go to war with Iran. But all those presidents have declined to go to war, instead making various deals. That it's only Trump that agreed to go to this war on behalf of Israel. And the Secretary of State alluded to that if they did not go, Israel were going to strike alone. So people are saying this is purely an Israeli war that America has been dragged into. And what Iran is saying, I see you say Iran is just shooting around, but we also have what US and Israel did in Iran that killed 150 children in school. That was not targeted bombing. They bombed a school that had children. So there will be casualties no matter how tight you think your precision bombs are. So those bombs had gone to a different place. Maybe it was unintended, but it has killed children. And what Iran is saying, I listen to news, is like they will continue to put pressure on that oil route, the Hamas, whatever, until America and Israel stop firing rockets at them. So they are not saying they want to win the war, but that they will disrupt the economy of the world such that America will necessarily, bring this whole thing to an end. What do you have to say, sir?
Well, thank you so much. I said earlier that war is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And war, if you really look at it, nobody really wins a war in the real sense of it. Nobody wins. Everybody loses. You lose lives, you lose property, you lose so much. And even if Iran was to surrender today, America and Israel, they've lost so much. So that's why I am an advocate that we should look for negotiations. Let's meet on the table to negotiate. That is my starting point. The next thing I think I should also mention is that, in cases like this, you'll be hearing so many things. The Americans, they will have what they want to say. Israelis will say what they want to say. Iranians will say what they want to say. So it's very difficult, you and I standing here to be able to ascertain the veracity of some of the claims. For example, I read somewhere that that school, that it was not the missile from Israel or America that hit it, that it was an Iranian. That's not, there will be propaganda. When there is war, part of warfare is propaganda. And what is propaganda? You want to project your own version. You want people to believe what you are saying. And if you tell lies sufficiently enough, people will begin to believe the lies. Even you can begin to believe your own lies if you repeat it enough. So I will advise that we should not swallow everything we hear, whether on BBC or CNN or even government. Governments too tell lies, sometimes not intentionally. Sometimes they may not be fully aware of all the facts, and they've taken a position before they now realize that, oh, what I said is not completely true. And pride may not allow them to retract what they have said. So having said all that, let's pray, let's hope, let's encourage that there will be peace and that the parties will find a meeting point. Whether this is an Israeli war or whatever, like I said, we can't conclusively say now whether Trump is right or Trump is wrong. Many of these things is time that will tell. Sometimes what looks wrong may eventually be proven to have been right. And when Jesus was there, he was very unpopular. Many people didn't even believe him. But time showed that he was telling the truth. So maybe former presidents were wrong. I don't know, but time will tell. But what I will say for myself is that we should look for all means to accomplish peace, to bring an end to this war. The war is not helping the world. It is not. The world is paying a heavy price. Lives are being lost every day. Injuries, Structures that have been built over years are being destroyed, needlessly so.
I like that you just said that just before we wrap up. So who wholly aims to end the war right now?
Well, I would say Russia, China, UN, because you see, in the dynamics of the world now, the biggest nations are US, China, Russia. I mean, those three, they are the most influential and they respect one another. Forget that they are always antagonizing one another. Inside them, America respects China, China respects America. They don't want to fight each other. Russia does not want to fight the US. The US does not want to fight Russia. So I believe that those two nations, and you know, if we go to UN, they are the ones that possess veto power. US, Russia, China, France, UK, they possess veto power. So if three of them are willing, Russia, China, US, UK and France, they will normally they will support America. So I think that is the way going forward. If China and because most of the weapons that Iran has are produced by Russia, and Iran too produces weapons for Russia. So Russia has a hold on Iran. Iran will listen to Russia. So I feel going forward, China, Russia, they can have a role to play.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your showing up. I will bring Pastor to come and wrap up the session now, because we really will stop at 6:30 and it's about 27 minutes after that. There are so many conversations we can have around this, but time is no longer on our side. We apologize to those of you that couldn't ask your questions. Please, we are sorry. We just don't want to extend this meeting beyond the time we had promised. So, sir, we really appreciate your time with us. Pastor, is the president available? Pastor Itwa. All right. So what will be your parting shot? I mean, I know you have made a general comment. What will you say in rounding up today's conversation? What will be your advice to America, to Israel, your advice to Nigerian government? And let me make this point again, and you alluded to it strongly. We are making more money now. That money should be deployed into subsidizing petrol for Nigerians so that we don't suffer unnecessarily. And if possible, if Dangote can give us enough, it will be a single subsidy point. So the corruption in the previous subsidy regime might not necessarily be there. If they are subsidizing, for instance, I understand Dangote has enough fuel to supply us. What do you say to that? Is that what you recommend to government to do at this time?
Thank you so much, sir. Well, like you said, very rightly so, that my roundup is for us to look for all means to end this war. That is one. I am appealing to the powers that be in the US, in Israel, in China, Russia, to look for ways. That is one. Now, for Nigeria, corruption has really dug in Nigeria. You mentioned that Dangote is a single player that maybe if it's just 1 point, there may not be corruption. You'll be surprised, there might still be. Those who are to approve in the ministries, if they are paying Dangote 10 naira, they can do invoice that they are paying 200 naira. How would you know? So, but if the government and those to implement it, because you see, it's not just the leaders really that are at fault. Many times, the players, the middle level, the policy enforcers, they many times. They are the ones that steal a lot of this money. It's not just governors and senators and presidents and civil servants many times. People in ministries, they do a lot. So if we are sincere, and maybe if they can publish the figures, if Dangote can say, okay, this is my cost, publish it. This is the difference. And government too publishes that, okay, we are paying you X amount. Maybe because part of what made the corruption to thrive during the fuel subsidy was that there was no transparency. Nobody knew how much was being imported, how much was being paid, who was being paid. But if we make it open, that okay, this is our consumption rate. This is what we are paying you. So everybody knows, CBN knows, the National Assembly knows, the ministry knows. It may be more difficult to play pranks. But
So
I
that
think
is,
it's
it's
a good idea.
possible.
Yes,
It's
sir.
possible to take this your idea and publish it. I hope they do, because the kind of crazy prices that fuel is now, 1,500 in some places, going up to 1,800, and we depend on petrol for everything.
Everything, diesel and
To power,
petrol.
yeah, diesel and petrol. So it's going to be crazy, and the government should not wait until it becomes late, a crisis situation, and they start running around.
Yes, I
They
think it's a
be
good idea.
proactive.
The extra income, government should
Yes,
consider,
the
how
extra
to,
income coming, you can deploy it there. The president is the minister of petroleum after all, so he can summon the Dangote refinery and his ministry people and have a conversation if he's interested.
that's a
Obviously,
but as people, you and I, others, if we all say that this is what is good, I'm sure the president, they will consider it.
I hope so. Thank you very much for your time. Pastor Itwa. Okay, maybe he's entered another meeting, but we really appreciate your time here today. On behalf of Pastor Itwa, maybe he has gone into another meeting. I thank you very much, and I thank all those that have joined us today. We're very sorry if you couldn't ask your question, but you know how we do it here. It's 3 minutes past the time. We appreciate all those that have joined also. We meet here every Thursday where we discuss issues of national importance and make some recommendations that government can take. So next Thursday, we'll be having another session, different speaker, different topic, but same interest. So thank you all very much for joining us today. Pastor Olumuyiwa, we really appreciate. Thank you. God bless you. Yeah, I salute you. Thank you everyone for coming.